Is your GMAT verbal score stuck at 27-28? You have taken coaching from some GMAT prep institute, or you have bought some online video course, and you have solved official guide multiple times, and you have given multiple mock tests, but still your verbal score does not improve. Watch this video till last to understand reason behind stagnated verbal score and how to break that stagnation to score 40 in verbal. Hi, my name is Mandeep. I'm a GMAT coach and founder of GMAT Mantra. I help committed GMAT students to score 700 plus on GMAT by giving structure and consistency to their preparation. Now, to make things easier, I'm sharing a preparation journey of a student who recently joined my classes. His name is Amit. So when Amit called me for the first time, he told me that he has been preparing for GMAT for last 1 year. He has read Manhattan Sentence Correction Guide, he has read Power Score CR Bible, and he has bought eGMAT verbal course, and he has solved official guide multiple times, and he has given different mock tests. He has said that he has given official mock tests, he has given Manhattan mock tests, and Veritas uh, prep mock test, and he always scored 27 to 28 in verbal. So I asked him, because he joined, so whenever a student joined my classes, this is what I tell him. So I asked him to take one complete mock test and record that test. So how do we record it? So I asked him to use Zoom to record his screen and speak while giving test. So his screen gets recorded, and the way he's solving it, he's speaking it. So everything gets recorded, his screen and his voice. And then he sent that recording to me. So when I listened to that recording, I could see him committing the similar mistake that every student who scored 27 to 28 on verbal commit, because there is a pattern. So to make things even easier, I'm dividing his mistakes in two parts, and these are the similar mistakes everybody is making. So if you are scoring 27 to 28 consistently in your verbal, so you would be committing the similar mistakes. So I'm dividing mistakes in two parts. One is the skill set, so knowledge wise, concepts wise, approach wise he's making some mistakes, and second is mindset, the psychology. So we'll talk about both. First, let's talk about mindset. So what happened when Amit was attempting the question? So he patiently gave around 1 to 2 minutes to a question, and then he became rash. So he took rash decisions. So when he started the question, he could reach last two options, but at the end, he did not invest another 30 seconds to get the right answer. He randomly marked something. So every time there was a pattern. And this is a pattern with everybody, that we start slow, but when we reach last two options, time pressure hits us and we take a rash decision. Why this happens? I think this happens because stakes are not high. So for Amit also, stakes were not high, and he gave up on questions quickly. And quickly also was just 30 seconds, because he invested 1 to 2 minutes, but he didn't give another 30 seconds or another 1 minute to reach the right answer, because he lacked resistance. Resistance is that when you face something difficult, you don't run away from that, you face it. So when stakes are high, we can control our focus level. So how to improve this? You need to understand you have to increase your resistance level. So how you do that? You increase the stakes. Now I can give you an example here. So whenever you read some financial document or any legal document, and when you're reading some magazine, so whenever you read any financial report or financial document or a legal document, your stakes are high, your focus is high, because you can understand that this can impact my life. So stakes are high. But when you're reading some magazine, you know that it doesn't matter whether I understand or not. This is what I'm talking about, the stakes. So increase the stakes. So when we are solving something difficult, we have this urge to give up quickly. But when stakes are high, we push ourselves to hold on for a few more seconds rather than throwing the towel. So we invest some time and we stay with that same intensity. We just invest 2 minutes and then you randomly take decision. This is what happens with most of the students. So you need just another, bit of, because when you're focusing on something, you're getting tired also, energy level is going down, your eyes are also hurting. Still, you have to tell yourself, no, another few seconds and I'll get it. Another few seconds, I'll get it. This is how you increase the resistance and you increase or you raise the stakes. So first problem that Amit was facing was that stakes were not high. Second, Amit believed that he needs to get all the questions right to get 39 to 40 on verbal. But that is not the case. That's not the reality. So this is what I recommend to my students, and this is what I recommended to Amit also. So what I asked my students, I asked them to attempt first 30 questions properly, and for last 6 questions, simply mark any option and complete the section. Now, when it comes to first 30 questions, focus on maximum accuracy. So if you can get 26 to 27 questions right, you can score around 40 on verbal. So first, we need to learn how to develop resistance. Second is to understand that accuracy is the key to high score. So this is mindset. Now let's talk about skill set. So I'm dividing this skill set section in 3 parts. I'm starting with sentence correction. Then we'll talk about critical reasoning, and then we'll talk about reading comprehension. And it's going to be a bit detailed, so it's going to be a lengthy video. So stay there. So what happened with this sentence correction? When I looked at his recording, I could see that Amit was aware of maximum grammar rules, but he did not know how to apply those rules. So that's the major problem. Most of the students, they memorize the rules, but they face problem in application. So application of concept was weak because he was not able to apply the concepts on the questions, because he never developed a right approach to solve the questions. Sometimes he was reading the sentence and then one by one reading the options. Sometimes he's comparing. So there was no consistent approach. Now, what he needs to do to improve sentence correction, and this is what I'll advise you, and this is what I advise to all my students. First is he need to focus on mastering the right approach to solve question, because he already knows the concepts. Second is to master the approach. Second, he need to do topic wise practice so that he gets comfortable in application of each concept. So one is the overall approach. Secondly, he has to go topic wise. He should know how to apply each topic, because there are patterns in GMAT sentence correction. So if you can master the patterns, and there are topic wise patterns. For example, in subject verb there are patterns, in tenses there are patterns, in modifiers there are patterns, in parallelism there are patterns. So if you can master the patterns, you can easily get high accuracy. Now, this is what happens with maximum students, that they know the concepts but they face problem with the application. But there could be cases, there are some students whose grammar concepts were weak. So in that case, I would suggest first memorize the concepts and then focus on mastering the right approach to solve the question. I specifically mentioned memorize. Don't read the concept, memorize the concepts. This is where you need to focus on. Now let's talk about critical reasoning. So when I heard Amit doing the critical reasoning questions, so when he was reading the passage, he kept reading fast because he was reading very quickly, and he was assuming that he is understanding everything. And when he read the option, he never gave time to justify the right answer. This is what happens is when you read something, when you read fast, you think that you're getting it. But in maximum cases, we are not understanding 100% meaning. You're getting the idea of what you're reading, but not exactly what you're reading. So first thing is that this will I explain later again also. So when you're reading, make sure that you read slow. And secondly, whatever you read, convert that in your own words. Secondly, the biggest mistake he did was that when he was reading the options, he never justified why right answer is right. What he was doing is he simply marked answer based on word matching. This word is given in the passage, this word is given in the option, right answer. This is how he was solving the questions. And that's not how we solve critical reasoning. You need to justify why right answer is right. So what he needs to do, he need to read passage slow. How do we read it slow? Convert everything into his own words. So whatever you read, convert that in your own words. When I say in your own words, convert that in your first language. My first language is Hindi. So whatever I read, I convert that in Hindi. And second, invest time to justify reason behind choosing the option as an answer. So what happens in critical reasoning? Probably when you get into this justifying part, you look at read every option, and then you try to understand what it says, and then you try to understand, can that be an answer to the question or not. So you get into justification. So once you get into justification, you will see that 2 to 3 options are irrelevant mostly, and you're stuck with 2 options. And because you have a habit of justification, you can easily reach the right answer. But mostly I've seen that students don't get into that state. So if you're scoring around probably I think 36, 37, then you have a you know how to justify. That's why you are at 36, 37. But mostly who are at 26, 27, they're not even bothered. They're just word matching and get, oh, this looks like good answer. Move on. Now, let's talk about reading comprehension. So first thing, then when I was listening to his recording, he read the topic. It was, I think, history. So he said, oh, I don't understand. So he gave up early. So what happens is he read first few lines and he find it difficult to understand, and he simply gave up on the passage. So this is where you need to build the resistance that we talked about in the mindset. Okay, don't run away from difficult things. Then what happened? He start reading passage quickly. So because he was not understanding, he just quickly read. Though he assumed that he is understanding, but internally he knew that he has not understood much. This is what happens when you're not understanding something. You read, and you're wasting time. And then he started answering the questions. And when he read the question, he feels that he's reading something that is not given in the passage because he never read, cautiously. He just kept reading without even understanding what is there. So this is what happens when you go to the question. You feel like, oh, what am I reading? Where is it given? So what happens? He feels that he now has to go back and read passage again. So mostly he was going back to the passage and searching for those words and reading the passage again. So again he invested 2-3 minutes scanning the passage, trying to make some sense, but mostly he failed. Because you can't, we are not genius enough that you scan and you understand. This is not how you do it. So what happened in this process? He wasted a lot of time, which increased the pressure, and he started answering questions without even bothering if he's doing it correct or not. This is how we give up on things. That's why we need to build resistance. So what he needs to do, so let's say you're doing reading comprehension. So let's say initially if you find it difficult to understand first few sentences, then what you do, you read those sentences again and convert them in your own words. And still when you're converting in your own words, still you're not able to comprehend, try to connect that to a real life scenario or try to visualize. Okay, so initially if you do that, if you try to relate to something real time experience, or you try to visualize what all you're reading, you start getting connected to what you're reading. And once you connect, then you can understand easily. And second, if we can understand first few sentences properly, we automatically develop interest in the passage and we automatically get the questions right. Because we run away from things because they are difficult initially. But if you stay there, you face that resistance, you try to relate to real time situations, you visualize, you start understanding things. And once you start understanding, you automatically understand the whole passage and you get the questions right. So if you don't understand the passage, you cannot get the questions right. So now, main reason most students fail to apply suggestions mentioned are impatience and confusion. This is what happens because I'm telling you this is what to do, and this I've told to many students, but they fail to do it. And the reason is impatience and confusion. What happens? Because I'm talking about verbal, so most students try to master all 3 sections at the same time. I've seen that in the same day when they're starting, once you know sentence correction, CR, RC, all, then you can do all them together. But initially when you're doing it, take one section at a time. Take sentence correction, then take CR, and then take RC. So if you take one section at a time, you'll go in depth of that topic and you will be able to master it. This is what you need to do. So when you're starting verbal, take sentence correction first, or you can take CR, or you can take RC, any one section, and stick with that section till you master it, and then go to the second section. So first step is to develop patience, because impatience and confusion are the two problems. So first step is to develop patience. How you do it? Take one section at a time. Another problem that students face is confusion. What is confusion? The confusion is about the next step of preparation. Now, some people who have already prepared earlier, because this video is focused towards people who have prepared earlier and failed. So why did they fail? Because when they were preparing, they were not clear about the next step of preparation. They were just going random, because they did something today, they failed, they did something else tomorrow. They never focused on what, or they never thought what is the next step of preparation. What happens? So when the students start preparing one section, they get failure initially because you're doing something new. So expect that you will fail. And when faced with the failures, students stop believing themselves, because they think that what I'm doing is not right. They start doubting their plan, because you would have taken some, you would have some plan that, okay, this is what I'm going to do. So when we fail, we start doubting ourselves. And once you start doubting yourself, you stop taking actions, or you simply switch to another section. So I think you can relate. Let's say you're doing sentence correction, you did some questions, let's say 10 questions, and you got 5 right, 5 wrong. You start doubting yourself. One is that there's one set of students who will say, no, don't worry, there is some problem, I'll rectify. If you're one of them, probably you would be, your score would be improving. But mostly what I've seen is that most students, they either, they just doubt themselves, and then they don't take action for next 2-3 days. Or they say, okay, I'll come back to this later and let me do critical reasoning. So this is what happens. They just keep switching between the sections and wasting time. Now, so if you have prepared for GMAT, you must have faced a period of inconsistency. And in that inconsistency, we stop studying. That is why maximum people, Amit, when I talk about Amit, he took 1 year. This was the problem. He was studying, then he took break, then studying, then took break, then studying, then took break, because he was failing. And if we break this inconsistency, we can easily stay disciplined, and automatically we get patience. Because when we get high accuracy, our confidence increases, and confidence automatically brings patience. So do you see, everything is connected? So when you start doing it, if you're facing, you're getting things right, your accuracy is increasing, automatically your belief, your confidence increases. So when you get your confidence, you automatically take consistent actions. But when you're failing, you doubt yourself. And when you doubt yourself, either you become, you become impatient and you start rushing here and there, because you don't go into depth, or you stop taking actions. And that creates inconsistency. So we can say everything depends on clarity about next step of preparation. Very important. So when you look at the preparation of GMAT, it's a marathon. So you just need to be clear about the next step of preparation. So if you're clear about the next step, automatically step by step you will see improvement in your score. Now, if you're one of these who have already faced this problem, so what you can do is you can work with me, because I train students on one-to-one basis, and I give step-by-step guidance to each student. So student does not have to think, so it's wrong spelling, it's think about next step of preparation. And this keeps student out of confusion, and they automatically become consistent. So if you want to book a demo session with me, you can call me at this number, which is 8860616050. Thank you.